Hello students, let us start question 23 of textual exercise. The question is, an electrician require C equivalent to be 2 microfarad and the potential difference is 1 kilovolt, that is 1000 volt. But he has large number of 1 microfarad capacitors. So 1 microfarad capacitors are available to him. Now if we stop here, you can easily say that he can connect two 1 microfarad combination in parallel. So he can connect two capacitor in parallel combination, so he can get 2 microfarad as a equivalent capacitance. But the problem is that each of this capacitor can withstand only 400 volt. So that is the limit of this capacitor, otherwise it gets burnt or damaged. Now if you connect two 1 microfarad capacitor in parallel with 1000 volt, each capacitor will have 1000 volt and it gets damaged because the capacity of this 1 microfarad capacitor is 400 volt only. It cannot withstand beyond 400 volt. So now the question is, what should be the arrangement? Now he cannot connect two 1 microfarad capacitor in a parallel combination. So we have to find out the combination. It can be a mixed combination. Now we don't know how many capacitor of 1 microfarad is needed, but it is clear that the equivalent should be 2 microfarad. Now let us see the situation that he have a capacitors, large number of 1 microfarad capacitor. So let us see that each capacitor is connected. There are n number of capacitors in a row. So n is a number of row, and let there be m such rows. So this is row 1, row 2, dash 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 dash, m row. So n capacitor, dash means n. N capacitors in each row, n capacitors in each row, and there are m such rows. So m is the number of row, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. That we don't know how many rows are there. And in each row, n indicate the number of capacitor. Now he connect this to V is equal to 1000 volt. Now the value of this capacitor is C111 microfarad. These are all C values. Now V dash is 400 volt. So voltage across it should not be more than 400 volt. So 400 volt plus 400 volt plus 400 volt. This is a series combination and it is a parallel combination. So voltage across this point A and B is 1000 volt. So this two end is 1000 volt. So for V1 plus V2 plus V3 plus dash 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 Vn should be equal to 1000 volt. So we consider a first row or any one row, and we can say that V1 plus V2 plus dash 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 V is equal to 1000 volt. So I write the situation, let there be n capacitors in a row and there are m rows. So there are n capacitors in a row and there are m rows. Now for a row So for a single row, I can write V1 plus V2 plus dash 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 plus Vn is equal to V. So I am solving only one row. Now each V is V dash and we have n capacitors. So here V1 is equal to V2 is equal to dash 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 Vn is equal to V dash, and therefore NV dash is equal to V. So I can easily find out the number of capacitor in a row. Therefore N into 400 is equal to 1000, and therefore N is equal to 1000 divided by 400. So it comes out to be 2.5. Now the number of capacitors cannot be in fraction. So this is in fraction 10 by 4. We need a whole number. So we assume N equal to 3. So we round off that figure because see, each capacitor can withstand 400 volt. That is a maximum value. But if it is connected with a voltage which is less than 400 volt, then also it will work accurately or perfectly. So we round off this 2.5 to n equal to 3. So now it is clear that in a single row there should be only 3 capacitors. In a single row there should be only 3 capacitors. From figure, now we got one clue that n should be equal to 3. Now from figure, I can find out the equivalent of this entire figure. So there are 3 capacitors only, C, C, C. They are in series combination. Now if there are n capacitors, let us find out the general formula. So each of this row will have a formula C by n. I can say this is CS. So each row has a formula C by n. Though we know the n equal to 3, I can substitute. But let us assume that before doing this solution, I find out C equivalent. So if there are n capacitors in series, the equivalent capacitance of one row, let us name it as CS, is C by n. Now C by n, C by n, C by n, like you have m rows and they are in parallel combination. So it becomes m multiplied by C upon n equal to C equivalent. So how will you write C equivalent? The C equivalent is equal to one row CS, one row CS. There are m row. So CS plus CS plus CS, like this you have m rows. So I can write, there are 2 ways. I can write m into CS, parallel combination CS, 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 CS. Now CS can be written as C upon n. Here CS is equal to C by n is equal to capacitance of each row. So the formula becomes m into C divided by n, then C equivalent. Now C equivalent is 2, m is unknown, C 1 is given, n is found to be 3, therefore m is equal to 6. Now it means there should be 3 capacitors in each row and there should be 6 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many total capacitors are required? There should be m into n, or it should be 18 capacitors should be required to get this situation. So the number of capacitors So the number of capacitors required formula becomes, so you have to remember, number of capacitors required is equal to M into N. So it becomes 6 into 3. 18 capacitors are required. 18 1 microfarad capacitors are required to get this arrangement. So in such numerical, you can first write down this formula. And then for finding N, we come to this part. So C equivalent, you have to remember, M rho multiply by the number of capacitors in a row, and that row is a series combination. So overall he required 18 capacitors of 1 microfarad each to get an equivalent of 2 microfarad, and now these capacitors will not be damaged even if we use a potential difference of 1000 volt. Now let us move to question number 28. It is, show that the force on each plate of the capacitor is half QE, that is a magnitude. Now see, capacitor is an arrangement of two conductors separated by a finite distance. Or you try to understand this, when a capacitor is formed, we can say that one plate is kept in the electric field of another plate. So if this plate is positively charged having surface charge density sigma, this is negatively charged having surface charge density sigma, the electric field intensity between the two plates of the capacitor, we know that it is sigma upon epsilon naught. Now I can also say that, see, there is a force of the force on each plate of capacitor. So one plate is kept in the electric field of the other plate. So if I consider that one plate is positively charged and then I place a another identical plate neutral, induction of the charges take place, so it becomes negatively charged. So I can say plate number 2 is placed in the electric field of the first plate. Or if this plate is negatively charged, I place another plate, the positive charges are induced on this inner surfaces. So in this situation, you have to remember, in a capacitor, one plate is kept in the electric field of the other plate. Now there are many methods to prove this formula. One simple method is, suppose the distance between the plate is x. Now we have to understand that one plate is positively charged, other plate is negatively charged. So if I want to separate the two plates, I have to do the work against this field because there is a force of attraction between the two plates. So we need to do the work. So work done to increase separation delta x. So W can be written as force into displacement. We have to do work done is equal to force into displacement. We are calculating the magnitude only. So if the distance between the two plates is 5 centimeters, say, and now I have to increase the distance by few mm, I need to do the work because there is a force of attraction, or one plate is placed in the electric field of another plate. So work done is equal to force into displacement. Now when distance between the two plates is changed, the energy density also changes. So we know that energy density rho E is equal to energy per unit area. So this per unit volume. So volume is area into length. Here the length increase is A delta x, and therefore U is equal to rho E A delta x. This is equation number 2. So whatever work you do on a capacitor, it is stored or it is changed in the form of a potential energy. So if I increase the distance, the energy density also changes, and that energy density multiplied by volume give you the potential energy. It means that much energy is stored when you change the work. Now comparing equation 1 and 2, I can write F delta x is equal to rho E A delta x. So this delta x is cancelled. So force is equal to half epsilon naught E square into area. We have derived this relation rho E is equal to half epsilon naught E square because I need E here. So I introduce this formula. Now this can be written as half epsilon naught E into A, because I need only one E. So one E has to be eliminated and epsilon has to be eliminated. Now E is equal to sigma upon epsilon naught for a capacitor. So therefore F is equal to half epsilon naught E. In this place of E, I write E sigma upon epsilon naught into A. I need to eliminate only one E, so I am not substituting this entire value. Epsilon is eliminated. Now this is equal to half E sigma A, and we know that sigma A is nothing but a charge. So F is equal to half E into Q. So this is the required formula. So this much force is required to increase the separation by delta x. It means you have to do the work because there was a force of attraction between them. So this is the force of attraction between the two plates of capacitor, which is proved. Now here the factor half comes because capacitor is a system of two conductors. Now we know inside the conductor the field is 0 and outside the conductor the field is E. So the average field of the conductor comes out to be E by 2. So this half factor comes because inside the conductor field is 0 and outside the conductor the field is E. So we need to take the average, or you can say the electric field takes some time to build up between the two plates of the capacitor. Now let us see the another method how this force can be derived. There are many different methods to solve this numerical. Now let us say the electric field intensity, let us name this plate as 1, this plate as 2. Now if I consider a point here, the electric field intensity between the two plates is in the one direction, that is E1 from plate 1 to plate 2. So E1 is the electric field intensity from plate 1 to plate 2. Similarly, the electric field intensity between the two plates of capacitor due to plate 2, which is negatively charged, is also in the same direction. And we know that the total field, or we know that electric field between two plates of capacitor is E, which is also sigma upon epsilon naught. But if I take a field E1 and E2 in the same direction, they are in the same direction, I am not taking it in the same direction. One plate is positively charged, so field is from 1 to 2. So E1 is called electric field intensity of plate 1. E2 is called electric field intensity of plate 2, which is negatively charged. So both are in the same direction. So I can write E1 is equal to E2, that is equal to E by 2. That is equal to E by 2. Or if you remember the derivation, if you have a single plate only, then according to the Gauss law, we have proved the electric field intensity is sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. So that concept we are using here. Now suppose I want to find out the force acting on plate 2. So force acting on plate 2, say due to plate 1. So that should be equal to the magnitude of the charge on plate 2, let us it be a capital Q, and the electric field intensity of a source. So this plate 2 becomes a test charge and plate 1 becomes a source charge. So F21 is equal to, if you remember the formula, F is equal to Q into E, where Q is a test charge, E is the intensity of a source charge. So it becomes Q into E1, and therefore F21 comes out to be Q E by 2. So this half factors also come because both the plate have an electric field intensity in the same direction. So their magnitude is half of the resultant electric field intensity. So this is a second method. Again, there is another method almost similar to this. Force acting on 2 due to 1, that is force acting on plate 2 due to the plate 1. So again I write Q into E1, and we know that if we have a single plate, we have the value sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. That's what we have derived in chapter 1. And this is equal to Q. Now for a capacitor, sigma upon epsilon naught is E. So I can write it U by E by 2. So F21 is equal to that. So there are different methods. Either you use the concept of the electric field, both are almost same method, or you increase the separation to check whether there is a force of attraction or not. So this is the magnitude of force between the two plates of capacitor, and you can say one plate is kept in the electric field of another plate. Now let us come to question number 29. Now this is a spherical capacitor. Now we have seen a parallel plate capacitor where two plates were kept parallel to each other. Now it is not necessary that there should be a plain sheet or a plate only for parallel plate capacitor. Any two conductor kept parallel to each other are parallel capacitor. Even if you take two spheres and kept parallel to each other like this is a parallel plate capacitor. If I take a solid disc and keep parallel to each other, it is a parallel plate capacitor. So if I take a two ring, then also I can construct a parallel plate capacitor. Now this is not a parallel plate capacitor. Here we have a two spheres. The outer sphere have a radius R1 and the inner sphere have a radius R2. This is a hollow sphere because you have to kept it concentric. Now the space between these two spheres is filled with some dielectric. Here we are taking the dielectric as an air. So the inner sphere, if the inner sphere is negatively charged, the inner surface of the outer sphere becomes positively charged. So the electric field is from positive to negative. This is the electric field intensity. Now you will also find a different method for such numerical. See, we can find out the capacitance. You have to find out the capacitance of this sphere. Such sphere is called as a spherical capacitor. And in the previous lecture, I said that individual sphere can also behave like a capacitor. So we will come to this again in the next lecture when we will use the formula derived in this question as a numerical value. So there will be some numerical value. Here you have to prove only a formula, or you have to derive the formula for the capacitance of a spherical capacitor. So this is the one way you can make a spherical capacitor where one sphere is kept concentric with a hollow sphere or a outer cell. So one inner sphere is a charge. So charge are induced on the inner side of a larger sphere. So we have a radius R1 outer sphere and inner sphere the radius is R2. Now if there is one method, if you want to find out the C, that is Q upon delta V. Delta V matlab potential difference. Though in parallel plate capacitor, the negative plate was arbitrarily taken as 0 volt. But the correct way is we have to write C is equal to Q upon potential difference, that is high potential minus low potential. So I will find out the potential difference of this two sphere. We will find out the potential difference of two sphere, and also we will see that this is also similar to this. We will do the principle of Van de Graaff generator. So there also we will take two sphere concentric to each other and we will try to find out the potential difference, and that will be the principle of Van de Graaff generator. Now let us take a 2 points, say point A and the point B. Now see how you have to find out the potential difference. At this point in between, I can find out the potential difference, because potential difference is high potential minus low potential. So there are two sphere. I will find out the potential at point A, potential at point B, and I will find out potential difference, that will be high potential minus low potential. I don't know which sphere will have a high potential, that you have to derive the formula. So this is one method we are doing. There is another method, that whenever you have to find out the capacitance, derive the expression for electric field intensity. Using the Gauss law, we know how to find out the electric field intensity, and then do the integration of that electric field intensity, that is the line integration of electric field intensity. So V is equal to minus integration E dot dr or dl. So here it can be R1 to R2 if I find out the electric field intensity. So if I have a limit R1, R2, then I will get this potential difference. This is called as potential difference, high potential minus low potential. So if the 2 points are in the field, it gives rise to potential difference. That is how we started the chapter. So this is one method. If I know E, if I can find out E of this system, I will do its integration, that will give rise to the potential difference. Or we can directly use the concept of potential. Now see, when I say find the potential at point A, potential at point A, so I mean do the work to bring a unit positive charge from infinity to that point against the field. So one charge, test charge is at infinite distance, I am bringing it near to it and place it here. So when a charge is placed at this point, the formula becomes, the potential at point A will be due to this sphere, due to its sphere, let the charge is plus q and here the charge is minus q. So it becomes kq upon R1. That is the formula for the potential. So this is potential at A due to the outer sphere, that is kq upon R. Now the potential at A due to inner sphere. So we know that the inner sphere can be assumed in such a way that entire charge is concentrated at its center. So instead of this sphere, I can say negative charge is concentrated at its center, and we have this sphere as positive charge. So the electric field is radially inward. So potential at point A is potential due to its own sphere and potential due to this negative charge. Now this distance is R1 only. The radius of R2 or the radius of inner sphere is insignificant for a point A, because the entire charge of this sphere is assumed to be concentrated at its center. So potential at A is due to its own sphere, that is outer sphere, and the potential due to inner sphere. So due to inner sphere, it becomes minus kq upon R1. So if you want to find out the potential at A, it should be potential due to outer sphere, say V0, plus potential due to inner sphere, say Vi. Now kq upon R1 at this point, and due to it, the charge is assumed to be concentrated at its center, that is negative charge, so minus kq upon R1. So potential at A comes out to be 0. This is equation number 1. Now let us find out the potential at B. So first, to find out the potential at point B means inner sphere. First, I will bring a unit positive charge from infinity to this surface. So that becomes KQ upon R1. Then I go inside the inner sphere. And if you remember, the potential inside the hollow sphere remains constant, or its value is whatever value we have taken on the surface. So on the surface value is KQ upon R1. So even if I take a point P here, the potential at point P due to outer sphere will be KQ by R1. Now I move that unit positive charge from point P to B. So that potential becomes minus K source, minus because it is negatively charged, upon its own radius. Upon its own radius. So this is the potential at B. First I come to the surface, then from surface to B, the potential remains constant, and then on B it becomes minus KQ upon R2. So this much total work has to be done in moving a unit positive charge from infinity to point B. If I need to find out potential at point P, it should be KQ upon R1, and if I take this distance as R, say R will be greater than R2, so it should be minus KQ upon R. So this is your potential at B. Now see, this potential R1 is greater, so it comes out to be a negative value. So potential at A is 0 and potential at B is this value. Clearly, I will find out the potential difference. So if you substitute the value, R1 is greater than R2, so this is low potential. So delta V is equal to VA minus VB. That is a potential difference. So this becomes 0 minus VB. So delta V is equal to, now this is minus V. So I interchange this and directly I write KQ as common, 1 upon R2 minus 1 upon R1. So I substitute this value here. I have a minus sign, so I interchange it. So it becomes KQ R1 minus R2 upon R1 R2. So this is the potential difference between the two spheres. We need to find out. Say in parallel plate capacitor we found the electric field intensity, that was sigma upon epsilon naught, and then we found the potential difference V is equal to E into D. So if I know E also at this point P, I can do the integration of this electric field intensity at this point. So that is also a method. This method is easier. Someday we will discuss this method also. So I can find out the electric field intensity at point P. So that electric field intensity will be, so I have to draw a Gaussian surface. Let me give you a hint. So electric field intensity can be written as at point P, this is a Gaussian surface, this is a charge enclosed in the Gaussian surface. So it can be written as KQ upon R square, where R is the distance of point P. So I put here KQ upon R square, and you put a limit R1 to R2 and do the integration, and then substitute the R1 R2, you will come to this only. So if I want to find out the electric field intensity, it is simple. Take a point P, draw a Gaussian surface, and the electric field intensity at point P can be written as KQ upon R square. So this is, let us assume Gaussian surface. So this is the charge enclosed. So the magnitude will be KQ upon R square. So here you write KQ upon R square and put a integration R1 to R2. Do that integration, you will come to this formula. So this is how you find out the potential difference between the two spheres. So it is a system of two spheres, or you say it is a spherical capacitor. Now C is simply Q upon delta V. So I substitute this value. C is equal to Q upon KQ R1 minus R2 R1 R2, QQ is cancelled, K is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So K 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, sorry, K is 1 upon, so 4 pi epsilon naught R1 R2 upon R1 minus R2. So this is how the capacitance of a spherical capacitor is derived, and you have to remember it is 4 pi epsilon naught R1 to R1 R2. Now instead of R1 R2, you remember it is outer radius minus inner radius. So this is the derivation for a spherical capacitor. Also, if I have to do this method, I consider a point P, its distance is R, so I can write V is equal to minus KQ upon R square, then say n cap dot n cap dr. Then I do the integration from R1 to R2. So it becomes KQ upon R square dr. 1 upon R square integration is minus 1 by R. You substitute final minus initial like this. You should arrive at this formula. So I am leaving this as an exercise. Otherwise someday we will come to this point also. So you have to remember, if you have to find out a capacitance, there are two methods. If you know the electric field intensity between the two plates or two spheres, you do its integration, then you will get a potential difference. Or you can also find out the potential due to each plate or each sphere and then find out the potential difference, and then use the formula directly. C is equal to Q upon potential difference. So we wind up our lecture today. Have a nice day.